As a healthcare professional, you're likely blessed with income and burdened by stress. You rarely take time to care for yourself because you're so busy caring for others. Isn't it time to empower yourself? In the Beyond Burnout Wealth and Health podcast, we show you how to balance your health and wealth. It's time to get wappy, wealthy, and happy. Join Dr. Ali Chaudhry as he shares stories and insights to help healthcare professionals better understand their stresses and stop worrying about money.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Burnout, a wealth and health podcast with Dr. Ali Chaudhry. Today we're going to be doing his inaugural podcast. This is the very first one, and this actually has about 15 to 20 questions that I'll be asking him about business, kind of his history there, and then also some personal questions. Good morning, Dr. Ali. How are you?
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited. You are my first doctor that I get to work with on podcasting, so that's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, hopefully this will be a lot of fun for you and me.
I'm hoping to learn a lot. I know I will. Well, let's let the audience learn a bit about you. And so if you don't mind, let's jump into the questions.
Sure, let's go.
All right. Specifically, this industry, the industry that you're in currently, how did you make the decision to get into it?
That's a great question. I actually stumbled into the finance industry almost by mistake. My sister is a dentist, and while she was in dental school, she got diagnosed with a brain tumor, specifically a pituitary adenoma, and was diagnosed with Cushing's disease. So she actually needed neurosurgery while she was in dental school. And then when she was in residency, her first year of residency as a dentist, she had a recurrence of the tumor and then needed a second brain procedure. And that's actually where it became a little scarier. Her tumor was near the optic chiasm, which controls your vision. And if anyone knows, or I'm sure most people have been to dentists, you want your dentist to be able to see what they're doing.
Yeah, that helps, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. So when the tumor is near the vision center, the main complication is it affects your vision. It can even cause double vision. So I asked her what she would do and if she was scared. And sure, she was scared of surgery happening again, but she wasn't scared about what she would do financially. And she's the one that kind of taught me the whole premise of disability insurance and this whole industry that I was just poorly educated in.
Yeah, that's a hard story. I mean, she came through it okay, I'm hoping, yes?
Yeah, she's doing great. She's a partner in a dental practice up in Connecticut. So it was almost like a baptism by fire. I started wanting to learn as much as I could about finance and happened to have a good friend of mine from childhood. We've been friends almost a little more than 30 years now. And he was in the finance industry. So I started talking to him a lot, started to show up at his firm, and then one thing led to another, and now I'm in the industry.
So what were you doing at the time that your sister was going through this?
Well, I was in my internal medicine residency up in New York as well, not too far from her.
Wow. So you really shifted gears, completely changed.
Right. Like I said, it was almost out of a forced decision. And to actually make things even more interesting, my wife at the time was also diagnosed with IgA nephropathy, which is a kidney disorder.
Oh, goodness.
So I think after that happened, I said, well, I really do need to look into this more aggressively.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So now you're working with finance. And who do you work with primarily, and what do you specialize in?
So for me, my specialty being a physician is the healthcare professions. So that includes anyone that practices healthcare, whether it's physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, CRNAs, PAs, physical therapists, pharmacists, really just almost anybody that's a healthcare professional we end up working with.
Yeah, that's great. And again, I think it's very, very needed. I've got an aunt that was a nurse for many, 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 many years. And I know that she had somebody in her corner that taught her a ton about finances and the crazy shifts that they work and so many hours. And sometimes you just don't have the brain capacity or time to deal with this. And so it's nice to have a professional in your corner. And that's exactly what you provide. So I thank you for that. Appreciate it a lot. So let's break it down. What do you do for your clients?
So really what we do is I help all the healthcare professionals find really not just planning their finance, but find that intersection between wealth and happiness. And I think almost everybody that's in healthcare will agree that that's a tough thing to balance, especially given the challenges that we face in medicine.
Yeah, definitely. I know you talked about who some of your clients are, but within that sect, who is your ideal client?
So I think my ideal client, and I've run across a lot of these individuals, is really just anyone in healthcare who wants to take control of their financial health, and then the emphasis on especially these clients that feel like they either are or they might be starting to feel the effects of burnout.
Does that happen often in your experience?
Yeah, unfortunately, physician burnout and just overall healthcare burnout is quite prevalent. I'm more familiar with the studies for physicians, but some studies say almost up to 50% or more of all physicians will experience burnout.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed and learned from other industries and just from literature in general, financial health does play a pretty significant impact in overall burnout as well.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I can't think of many more things in my own marriage over the last 25 years. It's been more stressful than just talking about finances, dealing with that over the years, starting very, very young and completely broke to then having kids and now having a couple grandkids. We're always talking about what we're going to do best with our money. And these folks, especially with the emotional burnout and all the burnout that they experience as healthcare providers, I think that would be huge. So how do you find your clients?
Well, initially it started out with word of mouth. Myself being in healthcare, I knew a lot of physicians. Mm-hmm. But over the years, it's morphed into more of a speaking circuit. Now, really? I've done talks on burnout and financial health for young physicians at residency programs up and down the East Coast. Now, this includes programs in New York. I've been up at North Shore LIJ. I've been in New Jersey at UMDNJ, all the way down to Cleveland Clinic and University of Miami. So just a bunch of programs up and down the East Coast where I just have the opportunity to teach a lot of young residents things that I just never knew at that stage in their career.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, that speaks to my next question. I was going to ask you, what kind of client education do you do? And obviously, the speaking circuits and some of that stuff that you're doing with residents is, I would say, pre-client education. But do you do any client education while you're working with them?
Absolutely. And I think the client education that we do runs very parallel to everything you learn in healthcare. So in a lot of ways, when you're in healthcare, you're learning from and in a lot of ways, these seasoned professionals, whether you're a physician learning from an attending when you're an intern or you're senior resident, nurses have the same process when they're in nursing students. And even when they're new nurses, they're leaning on and learning from those in their profession that have been doing it for a lot of years. So really, I try to take that same approach. And really what we're doing is trying to provide foundational education, really teaching our clients the building blocks of what it takes to secure financial health, while also helping them create a roadmap that the client can follow to ensure that they stay on path.
All right. Now, not that you're not amazing, Dr. Ali, but the things that you've already touched on sound like a ton of work. So I'm going to ask you this. Do you have people that help you? And if you do, can you kind of introduce us to your team?
Oh, absolutely. I cannot do this by myself. Just like in medicine, I can't do it all myself. I have a group of specialists in healthcare, whether they're cardiologists or surgeons. Same thing is true in what I do. Now, my team is based out of the Northeast Financial Network, and it includes a large team of professionals that specialize in all aspects of financial planning for all stages of your life, whether you're the broke resident just still in residency, whether you're a new attending that just started your career but have a ton of debt. It doesn't matter. We have someone that can help you out. And the team includes CPAs, financial planners, advisors, disability specialists, and so forth.
Great. Now, I'm going to change gears just slightly. Obviously, you have a huge heart for folks that are in the medical field and that you've made an impact so far. But I'm going to ask you this. What do you do in your community? Are you active in your community? Is it something that you take? I know that you're not going to say, no, I don't take pride in it, but I know you take pride in your community. What do you do there to help out?
Oh, absolutely. I've always volunteered ever since high school. I remember in high school, I used to volunteer at almost at an after school program and a daycare for people with learning disabilities and just fantastic. Disabilities in general. Wow. So volunteering community service has been at the heart of what I do. Most recently, what I'm most proud of was starting a scholarship at my high school along with my sister, almost as a way to pay it forward. Both my sister and I were lucky enough to have been awarded scholarships in our senior year. So we thought the best thing to do and the right thing to do would be to pay it forward. And we started that scholarship a couple of years ago. And last year we were able to give out 4 scholarships. And hopefully this year we'll just keep growing that program as the best we can.
Wow. That's great. That is absolutely great. Now I'm going to open up a can of worms here with this next one. I've worked with a lot of different folks in the financial industry and asked them a lot of these same questions. I don't know what I'm going to get with you. What designations or advanced education you have? And that could be either side, medically or financially or whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah, so let's start with the medical first. So obviously I'm a physician. I'm board certified by the Internal Medicine. So American Board of Internal Medicine. I'm diplomat of that group. I've also worked as a medical director. I've worked as a chief medical informatics officer. I've been on medical executive committees. I've been on a ton of different committees in the role of my profession, day-to-day work. But also on the finance side, I started to first just learn about a lot of things I didn't know, and then started to slowly get licensed in different aspects of it. So for now, well, my emphasis has been on disability insurance, just given my personal history with my family, especially my sister and my wife. So I'm licensed in disability for now. I'm licensed with the insurance piece on the life insurance as well. And I'm working on my other licenses so I can be more well-rounded advisor as well. But that will, I think, take some more time. But luckily, I have a good team of professionals around me that can take over that aspect of finance as it pops up.
Well, it sounds like education's always been a huge part of your life and something that you're always going to strive for. So I expect that you'll be able to give us some updates as you continue on this pathway to be able to serve your clients even further with all the different types of designations that are out there. And I'm sure you've got your eyes on a few right now. So I'll ask you that question again here in a few months. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right. This is the last question for the business side of things. And then we're going to jump into the personal side of things. But I think this is a good segue question. What would you say, Dr. Ali, is your business philosophy?
I think more important than anything else is prevention and protection. Now, I've been fortunate enough to start a few of my own businesses. And the one thing I've learned from that world is you always have to protect the downside. Make sure that if something were to go wrong, you've protected yourself. So from a business philosophy, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a physician or a nurse, you want to make sure you're protecting yourself so that your income and your paycheck is there every single month, no matter what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think any financial advisor or financial professional worth their salt will say the same thing. And I think any doctor would say the same thing, right? Protection and prevention is kind of the building blocks of what you want to do to maintain your health, whether that's your physical health or your financial health, for sure. All right. Well, now we are into the personal questions section. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
you
let's
ready?
do it.
All right. Going to dive down and get to know Dr. Ali on a personal level. So when you're not working, forget about work now. What do you do for fun when you're not working?
Yeah, so for fun, absolutely. I'm a big Yankees fan, and it's playoff season, so I'm rooting for the Yankees. I'll be watching a lot of games in the next couple of weeks and hopefully get a chance to make it out to Yankee Stadium and watch some of these games live.
Nice.
But other than the Yankees, I really enjoy traveling, seeing different parts of the world. And I've realized over the last couple of years, there's just a lot of places in America I just haven't seen. So I just got back from a camping trip and a hiking trip out in the Southwest. It was actually pretty amazing. You camped out in tents. It wasn't one of those glamping trips at all. It was definitely very limited things that we could clean ourselves with, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I went on this trip specifically to see Antelope Canyon. It's something that's been on my to-do list. I've seen some amazing pictures of it online. Peter Lick took a phenomenal shot of this canyon. So when I went to the canyon, I was just amazed at how great it was.
Antelope Canyon. Now, where is that? You said Southwest. Can you be more specific?
So the trip itself was 4 days, four states in 3 days. So you can imagine it was a lot of time on a bus with a bunch of strangers that you don't know. So we started in Arizona. We went to New Mexico, Utah. So Antelope Canyon was actually in the Navajo Nation down in Arizona.
Wow, sounds beautiful. And, I won't hold the Yankees thing against you. I know earlier you said, before we were talking, you said you had met A-Rod. And I did too, but I met A-Rod when he was on my team, which is the Mariners. So I won't hold A-Rod's transfer to your team against you. We'll just move on. Is that okay?
Safe choice.
I like you a lot. All right. So next question. Who is your hero? Who's your hero? If you had to pick one, who would your hero be, Dr. Ali?
Well, if I had to pick one, I would actually, I'm going to break the rules and pick two.
Okay.
I think the first one would be Patch Adams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Patch Adams for sure. Robin Williams' portrayal in the movie was amazing. I was a big fan of it ever since I saw the movie. It really reinforced my idea of becoming a physician. The second would obviously be my sister, only because she's been through so much, had 2 brain tumors, 2 surgeries, and she's still got an amazing attitude, still pushing forward in life. And just her charitable nature is amazing. She goes down to the Dominican Republic every year. She sees about 600 to 1,000 children and does free dental care for them.
Wow. That's got to be exhausting and rewarding at the same time.
I think every time she's talked to me, by the time she comes back, her hand and back hurts, but she's full of smiles and a ton of pictures of kids that are so grateful and happy.
Oh, I bet. Well, I know that this is probably going to be part of the answer for your next question, but if you had all the money in the world that you ever needed, what would you do?
Well, I love what I do, so I would absolutely continue to practice medicine, but I would just switch gears, first and foremost, I would absolutely go volunteer at the Gesundheit Institute that was started by Patch Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would also do Doctors Without Borders and things similar to what my sister's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. What an impact that would be to be able to fund those types of programs and see those smiles on a daily basis. For sure. That'd be outstanding. All right. What is your idea of success?
Well, that's a good question. I think, unfortunately, success means different things to different people, especially I think it changes depending on your stage in life. So I know at a time when I was younger, I thought success would be when I became a physician. And then that changed. And I thought success would mean how much money I made per year, or what type of status symbols I had, or what type of advancement I made in my profession. But over the last couple of years, I realized success for me is really the simple things, and I can sum it up into just one word, and that's gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason I'll say that, I think it was just this past Thanksgiving last year. I picked up a couple extra shifts when I should have really just taken the week off. I remember going to work, and I was just a little grumpy about having to work, even though I chose to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So the first person I saw that morning was a middle-aged woman in the ICU. And I asked her, "How you doing this morning?" And her response is one I'll never forget. She goes, "Doc, I'm so glad I can breathe today." And I remember at that moment, I just felt like such a jerk. I'm like, here I'm complaining about having to work.
Yeah.
And I woke up this morning without even thinking about being able to breathe. And this woman is so grateful that she can actually breathe without difficulty.
Yeah, it puts it right in perspective for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've noticed over the years, my patients probably teach me a lot more than I can teach them.
All right. What is the one thing that you recommend most to clients, family, or friends? And this can be anything. It could be a book, could be pizza, could be whatever. What's the one thing you'd recommend to most clients, family, or friends?
Well, I'm going to start, since you mentioned pizza, with Johnny Napkins, and anyone that knows me and knows Jersey will understand what that means.
Okay. I don't know it, so I'm not sure.
Well, if you're in Jersey, I'll take you. Best pizza
Deal.
I've ever had, despite what the surveys say.
All right.
And I think the second more important and maybe more appropriate for the podcast would be just to really understand the magnitude of protection planning,
Mm-hmm.
and to really understand it before something wrong happens. It's really hard to protect yourself after the negative adverse effect or event has already occurred.
All right. Next question. And this is my favorite, I'll be honest. I've had some really interesting answers from folks over the years when I've talked to them about this. Name one thing that most people don't know about you, doctor.
Again, I'm going to break the rules and name two.
All right.
The first one is I don't have any children, but I have a dad bod. And I think most people know this.
Nice.
They've seen me. Yeah, I think it's trendy, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you're good.
And then the second thing is I'm a certified professional life coach.
Are you?
I think, yeah. And the reason I did that is I really realized that it helped me really not just in the finance world talking to strangers about this topic, but really it helped me understand my patients better and to be able to speak to them. And more than anything else, it taught me how to listen to people much better than I do before I became a certified coach.
Yeah, no, that training is wonderful. And as a coach and a consultant, I take my hat off to you, and we'll have lots to talk about for sure. All right. And now I've got something that this actually flows really well with life coaching. When you lose focus, because everybody does at different times, whether it's external stress, maybe you're just tired, there's all sorts of different things that could cause this. But what is your mantra, motto, or something that you say to yourself to help get yourself back to focused and on track?
Yeah, I think this goes back to what I learned from my patients, and it's gratitude first and gratitude always. No matter how bad your day is, no matter how many things go wrong, always imagine it's still better. If you were able to wake up in the morning and get out of bed without needing help, if you're able to breathe without needing oxygen, that's what I look toward every day, and that's what I'm so grateful for. Yeah. So anytime I have a bad day or something goes wrong, I always center myself with that again. At least I can breathe, at least I can walk by myself.
All right, Dr. Ali, what is your proudest achievement?
So it's going to sound silly, and I think I've accomplished a lot of things that other people would look at as metrics for success and things you can be proud of, whether it's a scholarship fund or your degree or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, the thing that I'm most proud of is waking up every morning with a positive attitude. Because I've gone through periods, especially through med school and residency, where it just beats you down and you kind of lose focus on really what you're doing and why. And it can sometimes make you a miserable and grumpy person.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to wake up every morning and be happy and positive, that's what I'm most proud of.
And Dr. Ali, I'll say that is a huge accomplishment. If you can do that every day, and I know that's something probably you don't do every day, like I don't do every day, but just trying and having that mindset of waking up with that positive attitude, if you can do that 6 out of 7 days, you are way ahead of the game. and talk about benefits to your health and mental wealth and everything. So I think that's a great achievement. All right, we're really down to the last couple questions here, and the last one that I think is probably one of the most important. Dr. Ali, we're hoping this podcast goes nationwide and catches fire, and people that need to hear it are hearing it. And that leads me to this. Who should be listening to your podcast? And then I want to ask you, can you give us a teaser? What are they going to be learning?
As a physician, and statistically it will happen to a majority of physicians. I was one of those physicians that was just burnt out. Mm-hmm. I, at one point, really hated being a doctor. But the point of the podcast is that I actually lived to tell the story. I got to a point back in my life where I didn't hate medicine anymore, and I absolutely loved what I did for a living. So I think that's for anyone in healthcare, whether you're a nurse, a physician, pharmacist, we'll all go through cycles where it just gets really difficult to do what you do. Whether it's just seeing sick patients every day, whether it's sitting down in front of a computer screen all day instead of in front of the patients, all sorts of pieces really do get to you every day. And then absolutely, like we mentioned, some of that financial stress just catches up depending on whatever's going on with your life. But student loans is a huge piece of it.
Oh, yeah.
So really, the podcast will focus on all of these topics, how to be happy in medicine, but also how to be financially successful and how to move your career toward whatever direction you'd like. And if you're not interested in promoting a career, how to have a happy life instead.
Yeah.
So a lot of this podcast will be me sharing some of the stories about what I went through, from being the broke resident to all of a sudden having a ton of money as an attending, to all of a sudden hating what I did for a career, and then finding myself again and really loving what I do as a physician. So there'll be a lot of cautionary tales. There'll be a lot of real stories. I'll have some guests on the podcast, people that I've worked with, both in healthcare and in the business world as well.
All right. I am looking forward to it, Dr. Ali. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Eric. Eric with an A, what I've learned, which is a little unusual, but I'm looking forward to more of these podcasts with you. And thanks for taking time out to help me out with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my parents couldn't spell, but it works for LinkedIn, right? Because people can find me a lot easier.
Absolutely.
All right. And thank you all for listening to Beyond Burnout, a wealth and health podcast with Dr. Ali Chaudhry. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, which I know you haven't because this is the very first one, click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Dr. Ali comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your colleagues. Thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Northeast Financial Network, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Are you overwhelmed with all of the information out there about health and wealth? How does it all connect? Subscribe to our podcast and learn more as Dr. Ali Chaudhry shares how to be wappy.
Ali Chaudhry, MD, is a financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Northeast Financial Network is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Guardian. California license number 0M42495, Arkansas license number 100160969. Not practicing physician for Guardian or its subsidiaries or affiliates. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Northeast Financial Network. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by PAS, Guardian, or Northeast Financial Network, and opinions stated are their own. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.
Compliance number 2019-89942, expiry 11/2021.